Hi guys, it's Jordan from P&P Campers. Just going to do your handover video on your Lunar Roadstar. And so we start under the bonnet. You've got your engine battery, so your starter battery over on the left hand side. A couple of fuses just inside here. They are sort of motorhome related, but you don't have to worry about those there. Power steering fluid sits at the front. Brake fluid attaches to the servo just down the back. Your engine coolant sits here at the front in this reservoir at the top, and your washer fluid sits over here on the right. Your engine oil dipstick is this orange topped one just here at the front of the engine, and you actually fill your engine oil up from this cap just here at the top. Air filter sits underneath this little box just here, and the rest of it, you've got a couple of bits. I mean, I think this is to do with air conditioning, but yeah, otherwise it's all pretty straightforward other than that. You've got your sort of chassis plate just here. And yeah. Right, so if we carry on to the near side, sorry, got your diesel filling cap just inside here. You need your ignition key to get that to open up. Then next thing we've got, if I just open the door up, got your gas locker. So at the moment you've got a completely full new 6 kilo propane bottle, nicely strapped up there. You had to fit a new bit of pipe because that was completely out of date and old, and a new regulator as well. Just so you to turn these bottles on, you go anti-clockwise around to the left, and if you remember when you do this, to go all the way on like I just have there, when you come back to turning the gas bottle off, it'll only turn one way, so you can't go wrong as to which way is on or off. But on is anti-clockwise, off is clockwise. I'll leave that on just for the minute, just so I can show you some things working. Your step switch is this one just here inside the door, and it comes out just underneath the main entrance door. Next we've got your fridge vents. So you notice you got these little extra covers on at the moment, so that's this whole thing just here. If you had a little flathead screwdriver, put it in there and turn it whichever way it will go, so that they run the line there runs horizontal. Then you can pull it out and pull it down, and that'll come out. It's basically just a winter cover, but we just popped them back on there because they were in the van. But if you had the fridge lit up on gas and you wanted to check that it was definitely working, you just put your hand over here, because that's where the actual exhaust is for the fridge, and then you can just sort of double check that there's actually hot air coming out from there. Storage at the back of the van here goes all the way through like that, which is why they've got all these nice poles and bits and pieces, probably for an awning or something like that. Your awning winder is here as well, but otherwise you just need to be a little bit careful from all of these pipes, because these are all the pipes for your heating. So you know, if you knock any of those out of place, then they sort of, yeah, it causes a little bit of trouble, but otherwise don't need to worry about that at all. Your fresh and wastewater drains are both of these just down here. So you know, it tells you just there, both just down there, so they're both together at the same place rather than being one side and the other, which is handy. Tow bar with the electrics and the tow ball is already there as well, which is obviously handy because a lot of the motorhomes don't come with those, and they actually have to be completely made up from scratch, fabricated. So that was a really nice thing to have on the van already. Same again, just storage. Although you have got a little bit of access here to your boiler, but I've got the settee open in there, so I can show you a few bits under there anyway. So if I just close that up just for the minute. Right, so you have got a lower locker underneath as well, but I don't really need to show you that, to be honest. This vent just here is for your boiler, so if you had the boiler lit up on gas, you also can put your hand over this sort of corner either side, just to make sure that the air is coming out nice and hot, and that is another way of sort of working out that your boiler is definitely lit up. Hookup point, so if you wanted to plug your hookup cable into the van, you do so from there. So if you wanted to charge your battery up at your leisure, or use any of your plug sockets, or use anything on 240 volts, you need to have your hookup plugged in. Freshwater inlet, this one just here. And so the way I got that open was to push in and then round to the left to open it up, and then it just sort of wiggles out. But to put it away, same way again, push in but round to the right, and then you need this key. It'll be a circular topped one, so one like this, You just have to sort of work out which one it actually is, because there's a few different types around. This little cap just here is for a 12 volt power. So if you had an external pump that you wanted to fill up the freshwater tank with, if you had a rollaway freshwater sort of rollaway tank, you can drop your pump in there, plug it into the socket there, and then choose external pump on your control panel, and then it'll give power to that, and the water will just feed straight into the tank. Otherwise, you know, you use a watering can or any kind of freshwater source that you've got. Next one is your toilet cassette locker. If I just open that up, you need to push both top and bottom buttons in to get that to open. So you've got a separate flush on here, so there's not a freshwater flush or anything like that. Somebody has in the past written on here how to actually use it, or how much of the fluids to use, but to be honest, it's not as kind of complex as you might think. So when I got to the van, there wasn't any flush fluid in the thing at all. So what I did was I poured some the pink fluid into a watering can, you know, a couple of caps full, well, not caps full actually, so you know, a few good glugs of it into there, and then filled up about 2 or 3 litres of water, and then you sort of get this kind of clear-ish pinky water coming through. So either way, basically don't pour it in. You have to pre-mix it. You have to mix it with water first. Otherwise, because when you pour it in, because it's on a U-bend kind of system, it doesn't really mix. So if you pour just water in and then just pink fluid in, you'll find that you'll just get water coming through for a while, and then all of a sudden you'll get a really thick, sort of syrupy pink fluid. So you need to pre-mix it first, and then pouring it in is literally just as simple as pouring it in through the top of this bit here, and then just keep on pouring it in until it sort of gets to this kind of level. I mean, this is a little bit low, but you know, if you get anywhere sort of in this sort of level in the middle, you're sort of good to go for a little while. To actually open the cassette and get it out, you need to push down on a little yellow lever and then pull the whole thing out towards you. This is the biggest size they do of the cassettes, so that's really nice to have, because you've got a bench seat toilet rather than going long ways. You've got the space for the bigger cassette. To actually empty it out, you do quite literally just pull this around to this side and undo this to empty it out. But whilst you're actually emptying it, you need to be holding down the little yellow button at the back, because that's an air pressure release valve, and you'll find that it comes out much easier if you do that. If you ever find that you can't take the cassette out, it usually means that you've got the flap open on the inside. So you need to make sure that you've got the flap closed, which I'll show you how to do in a minute. Right, without trying to make it too messy, because I've done a nice job cleaning it, I'll just quickly show you a few bits in the cab. So you've got a 5-speed manual gearbox. Reverse is down to the bottom right. What else have we got? Single DIN Panasonic head unit just down here. I would advise you to keep that pushed out like that rather than in. So reason being, the little red light down in the corner, even though it's not actually on, it's not sort of doing anything, not playing any music or anything like that, over a certain period of time, because the motorhomes don't tend to get driven every single day. I mean, we've got customers that do, but it's unusual, and you'll find that even the tiniest little light like that can, not always, but can put a drain on a battery over a certain amount of time. So if I was you, I would leave that popped out, just as a, you know, personally. So yeah, 5-speed manual gearbox. You've got all of your heater settings just down here, so where you want the air to go to, the temperature of the air, and the fan speed setting. You have also got an air conditioning switch down there, which again is quite unusual for a van of this age. I think they get fitted, I saw a little sticker under the bonnet there saying e-dispatcher, so I'm not sure if they've got something to do with the fitting of the aircon, or whether it's an original Fiat thing. I personally, I don't know, but anyway, it's nice to have the aircon there, especially sort of if you're going abroad or going somewhere nice and hot. But there you go, that's that. You've got a slightly smaller steering wheel in here, but I must admit I do quite like that, purely just due to the fact that you know, it makes it a lot easier to drive, I think. Especially, well, I mean, especially for me on the site, because we've got no space at all really, it does make it a lot easier, bearing in mind you've got power steering as well. So yeah, you know, see how you get on with that. It's nice, I think. Indicators are on this closest stalk, and the one at the back is your full beam and flashing stalk. The right hand one is your washers and wipers, and you can do that just by sort of going up and down like that, pulling towards you. Super low mileage for the age, 46,000 miles. That's, you know, it's just really, really good. I mean, they don't tend to get a huge mileage on them, but, you know, for a van of this age and a van of this, you know, nice condition, that's, you know, quite impressive. Lights turning on, side lights, and then main beam just there, and then you've got your headlight aim just there as well. You've also got, which again is another thing that's unusual for a van of this age, is electric adjusting mirrors. So you would basically just choose which mirror you want to move, and then just use it as like a little joystick basically. On the newer vans, it's down here as part of the electric windows. But to be honest, usually this style of cab won't have this, the aircon, electric windows, you know, none of it. So it's a super high spec cab. In fact, probably one of the highest specs I've seen. But anyway, yeah, there you go. And then your electric windows, which do both work. You've got a couple of microphones up here. I'm not sure whether or not they're connected up to the Panasonic head unit or not. I don't know personally. Not sure if you can. Not sure. Anyway, right, so yeah, that's the cab. So if we just go into the back now, I'll show you around the back end of the van. So first things first, as soon as you come in the actual door, if you look up to your left, you've got a plug-in systems control panel. Plug-in systems have been doing sort of control panels and all sorts of bits and pieces like that for years and years and years. Really nice sort of simple but reliable units, which don't tend to get many issues whatsoever. So if I just quickly show you how it sort of works, quickly run you through it. The button right in the middle there is what's going to sort of turn the control panel on, give you power. So where it is now, down in the van position, is where you want it to be. So that's basically just choosing which battery to use. If you put it up like this, it will still work, but what that's doing is it's drawing power from the engine battery rather than drawing power from the leisure. And obviously you don't want to do that, because if you use too much power out of your engine battery, you'll end up not being able to start the van. It will go flat. So just make sure that you keep it down on van if you are going to use it. If you're going to get out of the van and switch it off, put the little switch in the middle so it's not up or down. But for the time being, we'll leave it down on van. The next thing you want to do is choose internal pump, like that. And then that's pretty much it. I mean, I'll show you how to test your battery in the water in a minute, but that's the first thing you want to do. So the middle button switch down to van, and then the left hand switch down to internal pump. So if you want to use your boiler and your hot water and things like that, then come in here and do exactly what I just said there, and then just come to your sink and pull the water like this. You'll hear the pump running, and if the water's coming through nice and easy like this, then you know that your boiler is full of water. All right. If the water was, if you lifted the tap up and it sort of coughed and spluttered and no sort of clear water came out, that means there's either one, air in the system, or the boiler is completely empty. So on that point, if your boiler is empty, which is for good reason usually, I'll just quickly say, the boiler needs to be emptied. If it's going to get really cold, sort of like -degrees or sort of near that at least, and you're not going to be using the van, then what you need to do is open up this right hand lower locker. Sorry if it's moving around a bit quickly, but so open that up, and then if you see down there, you've got a yellow tab, and that's facing horizontal at the moment, which means that the boiler is not going to drain any water out. So just for example, when I actually got into the van to start doing the video, I did exactly what I've just done there, turned the control panel on, put the internal pump on, and then pulled the hot water, and all I got was air, and then I could hear loads of water coming out underneath the van. And then I thought to myself that it must be the boiler drain. I couldn't find it because I thought it was going to be over here by the boiler, but I eventually found it and then realised that it was in the upright position, and then I put it down like it is now. So as long as it's down like that, your boiler will keep the water that you try to put into it. So once you've got it down like that, you then come back to your sink and just do exactly what I've done there again, and just wait, and it will take a couple of minutes, but just wait until it starts coming through nice and clearly like that. The reason for that is if you try and light your boiler up with no water in it, then basically you'll just sort of overheat it. Just like it's exactly the same as boiling an empty kettle. So that is really, really important. The boiler, to be fair, is the most expensive part in this entire van. If you know, I'm not trying to scare you with that, I'm just saying you need to take care of it, and then it will take care of you as well, by not going wrong, if you know what I mean. They're really, really reliable if you look after them. So yeah, drain it out from down there if it's going to get to minus temperatures and you're not going to be using the van, and make sure that you have it full of water before you start lighting it up on gas, and things like that. Right, so that's out of the way. I will now show you, you've got these 4 bits down here. So you've got lights, pump, aux 1 and aux 2. Now they're all 10 amp fuses. And if you had a little flathead screwdriver, you basically just undo those, it'll screw out, and then you can just pull it out and it'll be a little glass blade fuse. So if you, like, you know, if you realise to yourself, all right, okay, the ignition on the cooker isn't working or something like that, obviously it is at the moment. If you found that you couldn't get anything to ignite, or none of the lights are working or something like that, if you want to, you can come up here and just check that your fuses aren't sort of snapped in the middle, or obviously just give us a ring. But there you go, that's what the fuses are at the bottom. The last little rocker switch on the right hand side is your test switch. So if you look over here at this little test, you've got water at the bottom, battery at the top. So the 3 colours are your battery levels, and the empty to full is your water level. So if I click up on here, watch the top, green, so that means that the van battery is really, really good voltage. If I then press down on water, we've got pretty much a full tank of fresh water. So that's how you test that. If I clicked up on here to car and then press the battery voltage checker, also in the green, so your engine battery is full. All right, so that's basically what that is. It's just literally a test button. Usually you would just use it either if you're going to be wild camping and no hookup cable plugged in, then you would want to keep your eye on the battery level, just make sure that you're not going down into the red at all. And if you're filling up the van with water, then you just push down to see how much water you've got. When you're done with the pump, it is also an idea to just switch it off, purely for the fact really that red light goes out. And also, if for whatever reason the pump was to carry on running on and you couldn't hear it, then you know you would kind of what you call burn it out, which is just because it runs on too long and it gets too hot. So when you're done with the pump, you don't have to be religious about it, you know, you don't have to go crazy with it, but when you finish using the pump, just switch it back into the middle and switch it down again when you need it. Right, so we'll go fridge next. So you've got a nice standard simple fridge. If you want to light the fridge up and actually get it cold, you will need to take those vents off out the back. That's because you don't get much airflow with them on. The more airflow in the back of the fridge, the colder it will get, basically. So in the absolute peak of summer, when it's really hot, no air, sometimes you will find that these fridges do struggle to get cold. They will get there, but it'll take a hell of a lot longer than it would in winter. But anyway, there you go. Right, so if I just show you how to light this fridge up on gas, assuming you've already turned your gas on, igniter switch goes on, it flashes and you can actually hear it igniting as well. If you want to light it up, push in and round to the left, and you can see already that ignition switch has already stopped flashing. So that just proves to you that the actual igniter has stopped and that the flame is on. If I let go of this, make sure that the ignition still doesn't come back on again, and that's it. That means it's lit. You can do 2 things to double check that. you can either look down in that little hole down there, which can be a little bit difficult to actually see, or you can go around to the outside and put your hand over that little vent that I showed you on the right, and then just make sure that there's hot air coming out from there. I prefer to do it that way. If you had a hookup cable plugged into the fridge, into the van, sorry, you can use the fridge on this green switch, which is on at the moment. So if you had a hookup plugged in, you switch that on, and yeah, basically there's an element in the back of the fridge, and that'll basically just start working via the electric hookup. And finally, if you had your engine running, you can switch this one, which is your 12 volt, the battery symbol there, and that basically cools your fridge down via another element, which is your 12 volt element. The only thing to point out with all these fridges, they're all the same. You need to get the fridge cold with everything inside it already cold first before you switch over to the engine running side. It already needs to be cold. The reason being that the 12 volt switch just here won't get the fridge cold on its own. It already needs to be cold first before you switch it over, purely for the fact that the element in the back of these fridges aren't big enough to cool it on its own. So just use this one for when you're driving, and then switch it back to one of the other two when you get there. So to turn the gas off, back up, ignition comes back on, ignition button off, and that's it. You've got a variety of lights around the van, a lot of them being reasonably newer style ones that are a hell of a lot brighter than, you know, like that one there. Look, that's so much brighter than the original ones. They're there if you want to use them. But there'll be, you know, switches all over the place, to be honest, for you to sort of work out and find for yourself. The cooker system is nice and simple. You've got an ignition switch here, which does the ignition for all 4 burners, the grill and the oven. So to be honest, I don't feel like I need to show you all of that, because it is literally as simple as lighting up a household cooker. You just push in and round on whichever one you want to use. They've all got their own symbol. So these two are the hob, grill, hobs as well, and then oven. The only thing I will point out is that with the grill, you need to make sure that it's lit on both sides before you sort of put it away or whatever. If you want to light the grill up, make sure that you've got it lit on this side, and if it doesn't light up on the other side straight away, just give it a little blow inside, and normally it just, you know, whooshes around onto the other side as well. But yeah, that's the only thing. And obviously don't close this all the way when it's lit. The heating is just as simple as the rest of it. So this is how you use it on gas. If you want to use it on electric as well, I can show you that in just a minute. But right, so the blown air heating. So if you want to use your blown air heating, the actual fan for the blown air heating is here. So push this little switch to the left, and then just choose whichever number you want. You can leave it on 5. It's, you know, it's probably best to leave it there, really. But anyway, so if you want to light the actual heater up, again, assuming that you've got your actual gas on anyway, you got a little sort of like peephole down here, electric ignition, so you don't have to worry about any igniter, which would normally sit in here. So literally just turn it around to sort of 2 or 3, and then have a look down your hole whilst you push this down. Where are we? There you go. So that's all I've done. I've literally just turned it to there and pushed the button down. All right, so what you can see is a pilot flame, just like any household boiler. Now if I lift this up and turn it around to sort of 6 or 7, I'll show you what happens now. Lift it up around to 6 or 7, and then the main flame kicks in. Now there's a good example. So you see there where it went out, that's not unusual at all. That's quite normal on these. So just push it down again, let it really warm up, and then let up again. And you just do that as many times as it take. It can, you know, because it's quite cold outside, that'll happen a good few times. It's totally normal. You just keep trying that, just until it stays on. So you do have to sort of keep your eye on it, to be fair. There you go. So now that will stay on, and I've completely let go of it. So these heaters get really hot. I can't stress that enough. They get really hot. So having this blown air part is really handy. if you have a lot of stuff in here like we do at the moment, this is all obviously the extras that come with the van, please bear in mind that you've got these little circular vents around the van and they'll be blowing out boiling hot air. So don't cover them up. You know, I'm not going to leave this on for very long, so it's all right. But you know, if it was me, I'd have all this out of the way. Either that, or close the vent off if you know that something's going to be really close to it, because you've got a little sort of flap inside it that you can close. But other than that, it's all pretty simple stuff. And when you want to turn it off, just go all the way around to the 0. Put that little bit down. And then I would, if it was me, I would leave the fan running for a couple of minutes afterwards as well. You can switch that off. Right, I've left this lot open so you can see, because I wanted to just point out that you've got your pump down there, the shore flow pump. Your water inlet from the outside is this black tube that goes down into the tank, and then that's your boiler. Not really too interesting to actually see, to be honest, but that's where it is. You've also got 2 little isolator taps down here. That's gas isolators. So the one on the left is your boiler, the one on the right is your heater. So that's just, you know, something to point out. You have also got, I believe, 2 more gas isolators. The one at the bottom is your cooker, so the whole heat, oven, grill, heat, cooking system, and the one at the top is your fridge. So try and catch that. Okay, so the next bits is your boiler, which is on the right hand side just here. Sorry if it's a little bit shaky because I'm having to hold it at a bit of a funny angle. Right, so as long as your boiler is full of water, like I showed you at the start, you can switch it on like that. You get a green light in there. Boiler's just lit straight up. You heard it on the actual video as well. And then this is your temperature dial just here. So you've got 30 all the way through to 70, and it is literally as simple as that. So the boiler's lit up on gas, and if I want to turn it off, just down like that, green light goes off, turn it back on again. So simple as that. So obviously that's lighting the boiler up to heat the water up via the gas. If you wanted to do it via the electric hookup, then I believe that's that switch just there. I didn't actually do the habitation check on this particular van, so I'll just have a look. Yeah, so I think that will be your switch there for the boiler, pretty certain. And then you've also got this one just here, which is your heating on electric. So obviously, assuming you've got an electric hookup plugged into the van, you can switch this heating on like that, and then choose either 500, 1000 or 2000 watts. If I was you, I wouldn't leave it on 2000 because they draw about 8 amps. And if you're going to do a little sort of calculation in your head and think about what you can and can't have on at the same time, due to whatever pole you're plugged into outside, 2000 watts at 8 amps is quite a lot of power. In fact, it'll be nearly all of the power that you can use, you know, compared to whatever you're plugged into. You know, you'd be sapping nearly all of the power out of it. So if I was you, I'd just leave it on 500 personally, and then just check your temperature again. So yeah, there will be one of these switches down here again, because I didn't actually do this hab check. I'm not 100% sure which switch does which. One of these 2 down here, probably the one with a little yellow, red light on it, will be to power this electric heater switch. So you'll find that if you plug a hookup cable into the van, this might not come on straight away when you try and use it. So before you do it, if you don't get any lights coming on in it at all, just try one of these 2 switches down here, and then that should allow you to use that there. But yeah, anyway, I'll pop all this back in a minute so that you can put the I'll put the seat back down. And then I think the last thing really is the bathroom. If I just give you a brief show round, you've got a light switch up here, which is obviously like a little pulley one, but I'll leave it on for now. Really nice little design in the bathroom, quite sleek, I think. you've got your main sink just here in the middle, which is powered by these two water sort of dials just here on the left. So if I just show you, it comes directly through there, hot and cold. And I won't show you the shower because it gets soaking wet, but that is already up there, and you use these two just here. Nice whale taps, so they're really nice quality. But yeah, anyway. The toilet, like I was saying, because it runs through this way rather than this way, you can have the extra long toilet cassette itself. To open the flap up to actually drain it into the cassette itself, turn this so that opens the flap and closes. Like I said to you, on the outside, you do need to make sure that you have it closed before you actually pull the cassette out, otherwise it won't come out. And if you want to use your flush, push down on this, and then your nice new pink flush fluid comes through there. Close it back up, shut the lid, and that's it. I'll just switch the light off. Right, so been a bit of a long video because there's quite a lot of bits to show you in the van, but yeah, I must admit, really nice van. Yeah, really nice quality. It's definitely been looked after. Right, so I think I've covered everything I can. If you think I've missed anything out or you want anything else covering, then just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon to collect your van. Thanks very much.